Most parents picture their babies getting into sitting something kind of like this, just crunching straight up into that position. But that's not what really happens. Getting into sitting is more like a push-up from the side than it is a baby sit-up. In this video, I'll show you exactly how babies get into sitting. I'll show you 4 common mistakes to watch out for, and I'll show you how to help your baby get into sitting all by themselves. How would you get into sitting? You probably wouldn't go just straight up like that because it's hard. You'd probably come onto your side and move into sitting more like that. The path into sitting isn't straight up. It comes through the side. Sitting is actually 3 different skills. So the first is being able to sit once we place the baby in sitting. The second is being able to move out of sitting. And then the third is the one we're going to talk about in this video, moving back into sitting. Each of those skills is important, so if your baby is struggling with any of them, check out the description. There will be links to the other 2 videos. The first thing we want to do is help your baby get onto their side. For this, I like to use a rattle or some kind of toy that they're interested in, that they'll reach for, and just get them to follow that and get onto their side like that. Of course, we could just roll them onto their side, but I want them using their muscles, doing as much of the work as they can. Once they get here, then help them bring their legs up into this position. So now their hips are in a 90-degree position, so it's kind of like they're sitting up, although they're down on their side like that. Then bring your hand underneath their trunk. Your other one is on the outside of their hip like that, and then bring them up just slightly and pause. What you want is you want to get their hand to go down to the floor and start to push up from the side like that. And then as I do that, then we help them get all the way into sitting. The goal is to give them just enough help so that they can do it, that just right zone. No more, no less. There are 4 common mistakes I see when parents are helping their babies get into sitting. The first one we've touched on, and that is just bringing them straight up into sitting like that. That's not how your baby's going to be able to get into sitting by themselves, so it's best just to avoid that movement. The next thing that I see is helping the baby too quickly get into the sitting position. So we want to go slow, we want to pause, we want to give your baby time to really do as much of the work as they can. The third mistake I see is parents may be going slow, but they're still giving too much help, more help than they need to. One of the things that I found is once the baby is pushing with that hand on the floor, I don't use this hand very much to help with getting up. I use this hand, if I need to, on the hip to counterweight that movement and give a little bit of assistance if it's needed. I find that if I'm pushing up with this hand on the trunk, then the baby is not as likely to give the help that it really can to get itself into that position. And then the final mistake that I see that's pretty common is just doing one side and not doing both sides. So make sure that you're practicing both sides so that your baby isn't developing a preference for one side. They are equally good at going up into sitting either direction. Babies really should be symmetrical. If they're not, then we want to make sure we're addressing that and making sure they're strong on both sides. Now that you know how to help your baby and what to watch out for, what should you do to help them practice? I also like to work at the point where they're having a little bit of trouble. So for most kids, it's that initial when they're pushing up because they don't have very good leverage and it's a long way to get back into that sitting position there. So I like to work right at there, just help them go a little bit and then bring them back into that position and then a little bit more and then go back and forth. Work right at the part that's difficult for them. Another thing that I'll do is I'll put them into sitting position like that where their arms quite a ways out, and in this position they can sit up like that, but they're not able to necessarily get themselves all the way into sitting easily. And so I'll get them in that position, get them interested in a toy that they want, and see if I can support at the hip a little bit and get them to move all the way into that sitting position from there. Another good way is as they're moving out of sitting, so if we're working on this, your baby should be already moving out of sitting on their own. So as they're moving out, stop them and try and get them interested in sitting back up. So something that is going to catch their interest and get them back into sitting. If we work with that position, starting to get out of sitting and then right back into sitting, that will help them get into sitting as well. When babies are learning a new skill, they need a lot of time practicing that new skill. I don't like to give parents a bunch of homework to do because you're busy enough already. So I always try and think of ways to work it into the routine so it's not just a big another chore. So one of the ways I like to do that is with diaper changes. After you change the diaper, just instead of picking them up, help them into that position, help them with their legs, and have them push up into sitting like that. Similarly, when they're down on the floor playing tummy time, it's time to pick them up. Again, help them with that pushing up so that they can get into sitting and get that practice that they need. When your baby starts getting into sitting, they're going to have new independence and crawling will be just around the corner. To help that happen, I put together a parent notes guide with the key information from this video. You can download that at infantpt.com/pn6.